Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about goal setting. I think goals are really an interesting topic, actually. We all set them at times. We don't often always keep to them. And being January, I thought it would be a really interesting time to talk about how do we feel about goal setting? How effective are we in setting our goals? How are we effective in getting our goals, reaching our goals? And actually, do we set goals? I know there's been certain times where when it comes to like New Year's resolution, I gave up because actually I just don't ever meet them. So I'm going to open the discussion today and just pose the question to my fellow co-hosts. How do you feel about goal setting?
Oh, I think you'd be a fool if you didn't.
Mm.
I think you'd be a fool if you didn't. You just get pushed around by the tide. And I think that's the problem a lot these days is a lot of people, when you really get down to the core of what's happening with them, they've got all these little issues going on. It's often that they just haven't got a clear idea of where they're going in the first place or why they're even doing it. I feel really lucky. I've just joined a group at the moment where we're training up athletes around the world. It's like a global athlete project. So international athletes get the chance to partner up with teenagers who are going through their journey or just starting their journey. In the first place we're starting is, what do you value? What are your values? Before we go into goal setting, because it's really important to understand, are they both aligned? Are you aligned with where you're going and what you're doing?
Yeah.
That's so important, I think.
Yeah, that is interesting, Chris. And when you, in that work where you're talking to people around sort of like aligning values and goals, because I think often sometimes people set goals and we don't take a moment to think about your values, do you? And they're so important because they're like the moral compass that guides all of our decisions. And yet, if I were to ask someone randomly what your values, I think you'd pull out a few that you think you might like, but whether you've done the work to really work out whether they are truly aligned to you and your sort of most authentic self.
Great place. There's a great place to start. Yeah, there's a great place to start with just understanding, what would you want someone to say about you at your funeral or a celebration of your life or whatever it is? What would you like 2 or 3 people to say about you from different corners of your life? And what would you like them to say about your journey? It's a really good place to start. And when you start with people that kind of pause and hesitate, like, I haven't even thought about this. But it's a great place to start, to then go on to stop talking about, well, where is it you want to go with your life and what do you want to do and what do you want to lay down?
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Ros?
Well, 2 fantastic points. I mean, the first one you make, Chris, about what do you want? I, wearing my therapist hat, on my intake form, I have a section saying, excuse me, I'm a bit froggy today. That is not what my section says, by the way. It says, what do you want? How do you want to feel? How do you want your life to be after this issue has been resolved? And many people cannot fill it in, or what they do is they just tell me more and more and more of what they don't want. We've already got that, okay? We've already spent half the form with, how awful it is and what's turning up for you and what price you're paying for it and how it's making you feel. And then we get to the, if I had a magic wand, how would it look and feel? And they just can't say it, because they're so fixed in what they don't want, that actually what they want kind of beyond that is almost impossible to see. So that was the first thing I heard you say, and that's absolutely true. And secondly, your values. I mean, I think you have to have meaningful goals. You have to have meaningful goals that are going to make you, I always use the analogy of want to get up at 7 o'clock on a really rubbish February morning when it's raining and stick to that goal. I'm not a fan of resolutions because 80% of New Year's resolutions fail evidently within week 3 to 5. They're kind of wishes, and they're wishy-washy wishes. But I am a big fan of goals, but having that motivation and that meaningful, why am I doing this? You need to literally ask yourself, why do I want to do this? And then maybe what has it cost me in not doing it?
Mm.
And how will I feel about myself when I do it? So I think those are really important.
Powerful.
Yeah, they're really powerful questions. And how about you, Sarah?
Well, following on what you were just saying there, Ros, about the visualization, and some people not, I think you were saying some people were not able to, their inability to kind of really see it and feel it. I had a really interesting session with someone last week. And so I see them monthly, and sometimes I give them like exercises that they can do if they want in their own time. So we were doing like goal setting, preparing for goal setting this year. And one of the exercises was really that, like to visualize your ideal life, you know, what does it look and it feel like, really spend some time like immersing yourself into it. And she said something really interesting, which was, God, I found that I loved all the exercises, but I had a real resistance to it. And I thought, well, this is interesting. Why am I resisting this visualization exercise? And she spent some time on it, and she said she realized that she struggled with it because there was a fear that what she was going to visualize was going to be something that was so far out of reach from her actual like reality today. And then she said, then when she realized it was a fear, and she's, you know, she knows where this is coming from, she was able to kind of just let go and just fall into it. And then she said, then she'd learned from going through the exercise that actually that was complete fear. It was an untruth, because the life that she visualized, she said she actually realized that her current life is very similar to what her ideal life is. But there were just some tweaks and, you know, a bit of refining to do, and some, you know, and so I thought that was really interesting. So for people to, if they feel a resistance, could that be a resistance to change, that fear, thinking it's going to be so far removed, but actually letting go of that and being open, allowing yourself to be open. Something else that I thought of is when we're setting goals, is that sort of checking in of around the why, like why am I doing it? Is it something you're doing because everyone else is doing, and you have that, you know, that, oh, if I have this, I need to do this, and then I will be happy, or I will be rich, or whatever. And if you were to flip it, which is, as we know, with a manifestation and a law of attraction, if you're able to kind of be in that space and have that vibration of the gratitude and appreciation of all the things that you do have in your life, not focusing, like you were saying, Ros, on what you don't have and that kind of stuff, if you can really be that and be in that space, that's a better place to come from when you're setting your goals. You're just on like, what goals do you want to set yourself, rather than sort of, I guess, it's sort of a test and question yourself, is this goal coming from a place of, oh, if I have this, then I'll be happy? That's a false, it's false, right? Just
I love that. I was just going to say, I was just going to say, I really like that point, Sarah, about sometimes we set goals, but I think everybody, to some degree, at some level, will feel an element of fear, won't they? And fear, you know, and actually the realization that, are you setting goals that are almost achievable, really indirectly, so you don't have that fear of failure and it doesn't get in your way? Is that affecting you? So that's interesting. I think, just if I was to add to what you said, because you said some amazing stuff in just the last 10 minutes, I think for me, it's almost about, I guess, like a version, I think, sometimes to goals. So I think it's the idea, it feels a little bit like restrictive. And I think the minute I feel there's something restrictive and you must do this, there's something that goes, well, I'm not doing that, so try me. And then everything happens for that goal not to be achieved. It's fascinating. So I think for me, it's about it's a balance between having a vision of where you want to get to, but also discovering and letting stuff unfold. So I think if I have a goal that's too tight, that's like, you must achieve X, Y, and Z in this way, in the way that we sort of learn it, whether it's school or at work, in our sort of like performance management stuff, and it's very strict, I find that quite, you know, I'll achieve it because by hook or by crook if I have to, but it's the most unfulfilling process or experience that I can experience. Whereas if I've got an idea of what I'd like to, and I spend a lot of time visualizing, you know, so whether it's about how would I like to feel by this point, or, and just see what images come up. And then what I like to do with that is also on a much more micro level, should we say, is just see how am I realizing that goal? What are the small little things that are making me, taking me towards it, or that vision? And I find that's much more, what's the word? Encouraging, you know? So if there is something around, like, I don't know, let's just pretend I want my business to feel a certain way in the next 6 months. Sometimes I might write down the things that I want or wish or want to feel. And I also write down when the tiniest thing that might have moved me forward in that way. And you start to see, you build a list of evidence in a way that kind of proves that when you think about how you want it to feel, it can become a reality. So I think for me, it's about having a loose vision rather than a really tight goal. Otherwise, the opposite could happen. Like, don't achieve anything.
You do get confidence from those little nudges, those little bits of evidence, though, don't you? And that's how we build that confidence. I think what this comes down to for me is just knowing yourself and understanding where you kind of back out at certain times, and that's okay. Yeah. I think there's a big difference between, you know, if you set a goal that has a "I'll be all right when," that's not a goal. That's a desperate grasp at something. Yeah. And I think if you do set that goal, it's not that you don't want it. It's that there's something else to work on for me. There's that, well, why can't you be okay now? Because if you're okay now, the flow of life is going to come in abundance to you. Yeah. But if you're trying to fight it and resist it, and I'll be okay when I get to the end of the year and all that, I see people hanging on and hanging on. The trouble with that mindset is it shifts to another part of your life. I'll be okay when I retire. I'll be okay when I'm dead. Yeah. And I've literally seen people do that. I've seen people do that with their lives. Yeah. Go from, I'll be all right once I get this presentation out of the way. I'll be all right once I get this year out of the way. I'll be okay once I'm out this role. I'll be okay when I retire, and I'll be okay when I'm lying in the ground. It's just ridiculous. There's a couple of things going on.
Yeah. And one of the other questions that has popped into my head while you're talking is, there's one thing around sort of like setting goals, or like being able to visualize where you're trying to get to. What advice would you give to anybody listening around what you put, any personal tips perhaps around how you go about like manifesting them or reaching them, or bringing them to life, those goals? I mean, there's one thing having a goal or a vision, there's another thing about actually turning that into a reality. Be really interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, I think we've cut. Oh, sorry, Sarah, you go, because you're the queen of manifestation.
No, I was just following on from what you said, Chris, about knowing yourself. And this feels a bit alien for me to say this, but you know, I feel let's say it. Because I'm very much similar to you, Hemo, in like having a loose goal, just kind of just keeping on track, sort of going, oh, what, you know, having like regular checkpoints and stuff. But then there are some people who they would absolutely hate that. So if that doesn't work for them, that's not going to put them in the right energy space. So I know some people who they have to have clear structure, they have to have very rigid checkpoints, and they have to have very detailed like checklists of like, this is you know, this is why I'm on track, and that for them feels safe. So I just thought it's just worth mentioning that some people, everyone's different, and knowing yourself and you know what's going to work best for you is the most important thing, really.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Ros, you were going to say something, weren't you?
Well, I think we've it's about what's right for you. I think I totally agree, and I think there is no one size fits all. I think what's great about the four of us, given our different life experiences, where we are and the ways in which we coach, we see that, and we work with enough people that you're right. For some people, they want that superstructure. For some people, they want more of that. There's the top of the mountain, off you go. You know, like, here's the foothill. Well done. There's your backpack. You've got some nice walking boots. You know, and that's kind of maybe enough for them, really. So I think what's great and why our workshop is going to be great is that we're going to create a structure that there'll be something within that for all of those diverse kind of people, because we are those diverse kind of people. I'm a bit like you, Hema, that you know, I have to stop rebelling. Sometimes
Really?
sometimes I have to think to myself, I have to look in the mirror and go, yes, but you're rebelling against your own goals or your own rules now. No, you know, and so, you know, we have to understand our motivations. We have to understand our reactions. You know, I talk about rules, bullshit rules. People are often still rebelling against the kind of rubbish that they grew up with, you know, and you touched upon that, Chris, which is, and it's called the when then syndrome. I think for anybody, get out of the when then syndrome, because the when then syndrome is when you've tidied your room, then you can have strawberry ice cream. You know, when you've done your homework, then you can watch the cartoons. And you know, and it's that all the way through, and of course I'm at this very top level with my clients who are the Jack Nicholson is this as good as it gets, because they were like, when I have the big house and the car and the company and the success and all that money in the bank, then I'm going to feel great and I'm going to relax. And they get there and they go, I feel like crap. You know, why is it? Is this as good as it gets? Because, you know, it isn't a place, okay? And you said it, Sarah, it's about how you feel now.
That's a great point. That I really like that. I've written that down. I'm scribbling away here. You know what I'm like. But
the bill is in the post.
Go easy. Go easy. To answer your question, it's something. There's a couple of simple things that I take clients through and I do. And for me, it's understanding the difference between what they want and what they believe they can have. Often there's a massive difference and there's a little bit of a wrestle going on. They've got a set of beliefs deep rooted inside that they can't actually have what they're after, that they don't deserve it, that it's from the area they're from, the background they're from, how they were socialized, all that sort of stuff is just pulling them back to ground zero again every time they step out to get the thing they really want. And just exploring that and loosening it up, you know, just simple things like, you know, and I say to them, you know, tell me something that you were taught when you were younger that is not true. Well, what I've got two for me. My record of achievement would be something I would use throughout all my life. I've never used it since the day I left school. I kept this lovely file. I've never used it. And the second one someone said to us was, Chris, you'll never carry a calculator around for the rest of your life. Well, hello, I've got one in my pocket. So there's certain things that we get told under that we go along with, and we've got it deep seated in our beliefs. I think that needs shaking up. And the next one is just to open up to the possibility of synchro destiny. I do genuinely believe that our internal desires are callings. That's what they are. They may take you off the beaten path. They may take you well away from it. But if we suppress them and we push them away, we start to separate ourselves from ourselves. And then people come out with all sorts of phrases years down the line of, I just don't feel like myself. Well, no shit. You know, it starts with that small separation of just, do you want tea or coffee? And people go, oh, I don't mind. No. Would you like tea or coffee? Which one do you want? I was that guy for so many years. Like, you'd have beat me over the head.
I've got a chapter in my book about that. No, genuinely, because there's a movie called The Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts, where in a scene they ask her how she likes her eggs. And she realizes she's only ever eaten her eggs to please the men she's been with. So there's this scene in a diner with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts going, how do you like eggs? And she's going, oh, boiled. No, that was Brad. Oh, poached. No, that was Chuck. And she has literally a breakdown because she realizes she doesn't know how she likes her eggs. Now, it might seem trivial, but it's huge.
It is huge. I totally believe in that. Amazing.
I like my eggs all kinds of ways. Big fan of eggs, me. Just
depends on my mood.
Take of that what you will.
Anybody else in terms of like a tip or who to follow?
I don't want to steal the show, but Deepak Chopra is absolutely class.
Oh yeah.
He's got a 21-day meditation that's free on Spotify at the moment, and it's really good. He takes you through different kind of segments of not only meditation, and they're not long and laborious or anything like that. You can do them in really short periods of time, but some really useful and quite calm and influential information there.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up because he's got a joint one with somebody called Adam something. I'm just going to find it.
Yeah, go for
They
it.
do the A to Z, and then the A is for abundance, B is for and it's quite quick, and it's just lovely. If you're really feeling down, by the time you get to Z, you're good.
One thing, just table exercise, we all know it, but I just thought I'd mention it, is have a bit of fun, like have a moment and be playful, thinking about your ideal life and stuff. Like maybe whether you want to do that drawing something or painting or getting a bit of collage, going through all those magazines and just whatever it is, doing a vision board. Have a bit of fun with it and play with it, and just I think that's the most important thing. Have fun with it, being playful to get you in the right vibrations. And I think when you're in that space, it allows you to be really, really creative and really enjoy that moment and just see what comes up and just let go of any strings attached.
I think you're right. I had a client last year say to me, things are just getting too serious, and I'd recommended a book, and he was just like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of like reading another book. And he said, I just want to have a bit of fun. I went away and thought about it, and we started between us to share what made us laugh. And it's now morphed into recommending comedians, recommended funny posts. Is it hilarious? Just to and fro in between us of, hey, have you seen this? And it's made all the difference, just having a bit of crack and a bit of banter through the day, and just those simple little moments where you don't take yourself too serious. I feel quite lucky in the Northeast. I feel as though it's one of the final frontiers for a bit of crack. People don't get offended easily. They just don't. You can pretty much say anything and it goes. I love it.
All miserable down south.
Maybe so.
No, everybody, it's all good. Actually, I agree with that. So on my course, the Realigned Leader, I added an extra week, which was fun. And, I did this course. I put so much into it, all the sensible weeks, and then I added this week fun. And at Christmas, one of my clients texted me and went, oh, I'm having a family get together on Zoom. Could you tell me what you did for that week on fun? Because it was so brilliant. And I tell everybody about it. And I thought, oh, there we go. It was the fun week that they remember.
So anybody else with any other tips to follow, who to follow?
That A to Z was Adam Plack and Deepak Chopra.
Awesome.
Amazing.
I would just add, me, I like to simplify things. I don't believe in complicating things. That doesn't mean to say I'm not fond of the detail. I do like the detail. In fact, I know where the detail lies. I just don't get too bogged down with it. So I like to stick to a really simple rule of wish for it, work for it, and wait for it. And I think it's that last one that really kicks people in the pants. They just can't wait for it. They want it now. They want it yesterday. But if you wait for it, it's even more wonderful than you first visualized.
Yeah, I love that. I think just add to that is like enjoying the process. Just enjoy it and let go of the outcome.
Yeah.
I was going to say exactly the same. Enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love the idea of also let go of the outcome, because I think we sometimes get hooked on that outcome, and we sometimes achieve way more or realize way more than we thought, and we don't recognize it because we're hooked on exactly what it should look like. I think today's been a really interesting conversation, and I think one thing I'd like to, we touched on it, and I just want to share that again with us. On the 27th, we'll be holding a goal setting, goal getting workshop where all 4 of us will be together, and we'll be running a really fun, immersive experience where we talk through kind of this very topic and helping you with all different techniques, also different kinds of styles around how do we set goals, how do we reach them, how do we either manifest or bring them to life, and just start a bit of a community really of people that are like-minded, interested, and just to kind of take that journey together. So we're very excited we'll share some more information about how do you book, sign up, buy tickets, but that's the 27th of January, so just in time for kind of like start of the year. And I think, you know, just to summarize our conversation today, I think we've had a really good chat. I think the conversation that we've had, we've covered so much in 20 minutes, as we always do.
Yeah.
We've talked about kind of like, do you love goals? Do you hate them? Do you set them? Do you not set them? Do you set ones that are very clear, detail focused, or do you allow them to be looser visions that you kind of envisage and hold that and like at the front of your mind? We talked a little bit about values and how important, I guess, it is that your values are aligned to your goals, because I think otherwise there is also like a constant pull, which makes it even more difficult for you to realize what you want. We talked about actually knowing truly what you want, like in the words of Julia Roberts, you know, making sure you know your eggs, actually what is it that you really want, not what you don't want, but what do you want. And I think sometimes we find that hard to just assert or have clarity of, because we're often thinking about others. And how do you feel into your goals? So how do you actually, what would it feel like to actually experience the thing that you would like? So what does that feeling feel like? And is there anything getting in your way? So are there limiting beliefs, or are there sort of deep-rooted fears that are perhaps holding you back, which you don't even realize? So I think it's been a really interesting conversation. I've really enjoyed it this morning. Very much looking forward to that goal setting workshop. So if you're available and you want to join us, do come and join us. We're looking forward to holding that in a couple of weeks' time. And yeah, I think we'll be back next week talking about the topic of forgiveness, which I think is a really good topic in this day and age. So do join us. So that's it from us. I'd like to say thank you for listening, and it's a goodbye from me.
Bye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.